Hello, everybody. We are live on various platforms. Hopefully, if I've done this correctly, it's only my second day of doing this, but hopefully, if I've done this correctly, you should see me on the YouTube. No, excuse me, not the YouTube, the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or I know they call it X now. So happy Wednesday to everybody that's listening. And it is indeed a happy day indeed, because I don't want to brag here, but well, I mean, part of me does because I'm pretty proud of this. You are watching the 44th most important talk show host in America. Yes, that's right. 90 minutes ago, the Talkers magazine, talkers.com, came out with their list of the 44th most important talk show hosts in America, and well, 100 most important talk show hosts in America. And last year I was number 65. This year I'm number 44. Now, people can make their judgments about what this list actually means, because it's partly subjective, partly objective, partly based on all sorts of other criteria. But I know when I never made the list, I would always poo-poo the list and say that it didn't really mean anything. But now that I've made the list, I'm certainly happy to be there. So thank you to Michael Harrison and Talkers Magazine, and congratulations to the other 99 talk show hosts, including some of the most talented people in America, and a lot of people that I have grown up listening to and still listen to this day. So it's a very talented group. Thank you to Talkers for the opportunity, and really thank you to John Katzimatidis for the opportunity to even have a daily radio show, which is something I've dreamed of my entire life. So appreciate it. Thank you. Would appreciate if you would share this stream, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Give us a retweet or a repost and encourage other people to tune in. And in the meantime, whatever platform you're watching, you can feel free to send hearts or send likes, and that will help more people discover what we're doing. On a much more disappointing note, they are raising the price of postage stamps again. The U.S. Postal Service wants to hike stamp prices again in July, just 3 months after the last price increase. So they announced yesterday, or what day is today? Today's Wednesday. Yeah. They announced yesterday that they're planning to mark up the price of a first class stamp from 68 cents to 73 cents. Can you imagine? 73 cents. So I happen to have stocked up, spent hundreds of dollars on buying these forever stamps right before the last price increase. Everyone thought I was crazy. What do you mean you're spending $300, $400, $500 on stamps? Well, who's crazy now? Now I've got stamps for a long time, and I'm going to do the same thing this year. Stock up on some of the forever stamps before this new round of stamps, the stamp prices goes into effect. But it's very disappointing. Big shout out to everybody that's watching. If you have any questions while we're doing this, feel free to comment. I know Bobby Bonds is watching, Neil Schimmer, and Eric Ulrich, our former commissioner of the Department of Buildings. My son, by the way, absolutely loves your children's book, If Pets Can Vote. We read it all the time. Joey asks, "You must be tired. When do you sleep?" Honestly, I sleep when I can. Today I slept until about 12:30 because I wanted to see this talkers list, and I appreciate that. All right, so if you have comments, feel free to put them in the comments, and we will get to them as soon as we can. So my advice to you is stock up on those forever stamps, because there's certainly the price is only going one way. Well, I want to wish happy birthday to Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes was a terrific pro wrestler. Obviously, he is the son of legendary pro wrestler Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, one of my favorites, and a guy with one of the best theme songs in all of creation. You know, it's funny. Alexa, play Dusty Rhodes' theme song. You know, it's funny. This Real American. Here, listen. Derringer on Amazon Music. Wait, listen to this. Oh no, this is Hulk Hogan's theme song. Alexa, play Dusty Rhodes theme song. See, why would it play Hulk Hogan's theme song? Although,
Man Boogie, Dusty Rhodes,
listen to this.
WWE, Jimmy Hart and JJ McGuire on Amazon Music.
See, it really pops. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
He's just a common man.
A great theme song, one of the greatest of all time. You know, it's funny. This theme song was from his WWF run, which was not that may I would say that was maybe a low point in his career, in part because he was so much older than when he was in his prime. I mean, his prime is really when he was in the NWA, having those great matches with the Nature Boy Ric Flair, doing those incredible promos like Hard Times and things of that nature. And by the time he got to the WWF, he was older, and they saddled him with this lame polka dot gimmick. And also, so much of what made Dusty Rhodes great was the fact that he was participating in a level of violence that the WWF didn't allow on television. Yeah, at that point. So a lot of that was not to be. All right. If you have comments, I'm trying to see the comments. I can't see all the comments here. Feel free to comment, or if you have questions, I will make an effort to get to them as many as we can. As you can see on the bottom there, if you ever want to hear the podcast, you can go to wabcradio.com/Frank, or you can follow me on Twitter. Yes, I still call it Twitter rather than X, at Frank Morano. But anyway, today is Dustin Rhodes' birthday. Dusty's son was Dustin. Everyone kind of poo poos WCW, but I think Dustin Rhodes and WCW had some great feuds. You know, he and his father, running around with the Nasty Boys, then his feud with Ravishing Rick Rude over the U.S. title. I thought he had some great matches. That's where I first became a fan of him, in WCW. Then he goes to WWF, and he has this gold dust gimmick where he's almost a kind of a transvestite, kind of ambiguously sexual. We don't know what his deal was with sexuality. His manager was his real life wife. They called her Marlena in the world of wrestling. Her real name was Terry Reynolds. And apparently, Alexa, stop. Apparently, that relationship really was in part the reason that Dusty and Dustin were so estranged for so many years. Thankfully, they were able to patch things up before Dusty passed away. And very interesting, on Sunday, Dusty's brother, Cody, became the Universal Heavyweight Champion, becoming the first Rhodes ever to ever hold the top belt in the WWE. So congratulations to Dusty, well, to Dusty in heaven, but Dustin and to Cody. By the way, speaking of wrestling, you may have noticed I am wearing my Barry Windham Four Horsemen T-shirt. Now, I loved Barry Windham when he was a wrestler. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. I really got to become a fan of him. I was a fan of him in varying forms, but I was a fan of him when he was with the Four Horsemen. And I bought this shirt when he suffered a heart attack, and his family was trying to raise some money for his medical care. And I'm glad I did, because I absolutely love this shirt. And it's apropos because it honors his Horseman days. And since we're celebrating the number 4 because of my 44th rank on the Talkers Magazine Heavy 100, seems appropriate to wear this shirt in honor of Barry Windham. He had kind of a rough year last year. His family, not only did he have some health problems, but his nephew, who's the son of his brother-in-law and former tag team partner, actually passed away at a very young age. But they were, the U.S. Express, they were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on Friday. So very exciting to see Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. There you see they are pictured with their manager, Captain Lou Albano, who I actually got to know later in life through Joe Franklin, because he was a staple at a lot of Joe Franklin events. So congratulations to them, richly deserved in the to get into the Hall of Fame. They were a terrific tag team. Held the WWE, at the time WWF World Tag Team Championships. This is actually Barry Windham's second trip into the Hall of Fame because he was part of the Four Horsemen and got in through them. And I think it actually might be Mike Rotundo's second trip into the Hall of Fame. I think he was honored as part of Money Inc. as well. All right. I'm starting to see your comments now. Please share. Please give us a like if you're watching, and I'll do my best to try and answer your questions. Gene asked, "Did you get my post about a ping pong table on Amazon?" Gene, I'm not going to buy a ping pong table. I have nowhere to store it. Okay. It's already going to be a stretch just to have it for one day. So I'm looking to rent or borrow a ping pong table for our tournament Saturday. And yet people still keep sending me links to buy a ping pong table. I do not want to buy a ping pong table. If you have not been following this, then I'm envious of you because this has become very frustrating. As frustrating as it is for me, it's much more frustrating for my wife because I've been working on this for a year and I thought we were all set with a second ping pong table, and it turns out we're not. So we're having this tournament on Saturday, and it's a lot of players. It's a long tournament, and it would go a bit quicker if we had if we had a second ping pong table, but at least at this point we don't. So there we have it. All right. The Mets unfortunately lost to the Braves yesterday. JFK's team, Jason Frank Konigsberg, heartbreaker, losing 6-5. At least they're starting to play like a baseball team again. I was happy to see that my man Pete Alonso, I think there's a Pete Alonso bobblehead doll around here somewhere. No, it's in my office. That he was able to belt out a 3-run homer, but it's they're struggling. They've been struggling with with things. So they lost yesterday. Hopefully they turn things around today for the rubber games. Neil says you only do these podcasts to show off a new shirt each time. Well, it's not actually a new shirt, Neil. I appreciate that, but that's that's it. Gene says the Mets are star-crossed. Maybe you're right, but it's certainly one of those things where that's the exciting thing about being a Met fan, right? You just being a Yankee fan is a lot easier because there's a good chance they're going to win. Being a Met fan, you really genuinely never know what's going to happen. Roberta says she loves how my bookcase is color coordinated. Yeah, this was a scheme developed by my sister Claudia, and it's a little frustrating because sometimes I don't remember what color all the books are. So if I'm looking for a book, it's sometimes difficult to find which book that I'm looking for, but I appreciate that. At least it is aesthetically pleasing. All right. Hey, want to remind you, if you want to support, if you're watching this on Facebook and you want to subscribe to our Facebook page, you can do that for the cost of about a quarter a week. 99 cents a month. Just go to right there, facebook.com/become supporter/Morano fan, and you can support me for 99 cents a month. But we're on a variety of other platforms where you can enjoy me for free. You won't get those special exclusive subscriber videos, but just go to facebook.com/become supporter/Morano fan. We're on YouTube, for instance, where you can find a lot of what we're doing just at Morano Vision, Morano Vision. By the way, if anybody has a lead on a ping pong table that I can borrow or rent for the day on Saturday, please feel free to text me at 8168-Morano, or you can also just email me, frank.morano@redappleaudionetworks.com. Very excited about this ping pong tournament on Saturday. My brother Alexander is a force to be reckoned with. He's been practicing for a year after finishing second last year. Last year, the young man that won was a young man named Daniel, a friend of my brother Nick's, and he beat Alex in the finals. It was really quite dramatic because what happened was Alex had beat Daniel. It's a double elimination tournament, and Alex had beat Daniel. And then they met in the finals, and because it's double elimination, Daniel had to beat Alex twice, and Alex only had to beat him once. And wouldn't you know it, he was able to beat him twice, and it was very dramatic, and people were just in awe of what was going on here. So we're going to have a good tournament on Saturday. A lot of VIPs are going to be here. A lot of important ping pong players here. Although a lot of players, and this is, I'm going to make my wife happy because there'll be fewer people here and they won't be here until, midnight. A lot of players are kind of canceling last minute. For instance, and a lot of players are leaving me in limbo. For instance, my friend Johnny P, great guy. Look at this. He writes, Frankie boy, good morning. Fortunately, I have to miss your event and adventure day. I have to show up tennis and do some interviews with the Wise Guys show. All right. So, by the way, I'm sorry I'm missing Paisan Con this weekend as well. If Keith, who was kind enough to invite me to Paisan Con, I've been meaning to reach out to you all week. I'm not going to be able to make that this weekend, so I'm sorry. But the thing about this Johnny P text is he writes, fortunately. Now, I think he means unfortunately. Now, I'm not going to be a stickler here, but I mean that's a pretty big difference. Unless he was trying to say something on a subconscious level, and that was his way of making a Freudian slip. So, Johnny P, you are certainly going to be missed. So, appreciate that. Gene writes of the Mets, you have a $33 million a year shortstop hitting 0.63 in the second slot. Gene, I actually think he's going to turn around, right? I mean, I think the cream rises to the top, as my Uncle Carmine used to say. So I actually think, Lindor and the whole middle infield situation is going to be much better than it has been. But we'll see. All right. If you have questions, just put them in the comments. We'll try and get to them as we can here. And Neil Schimler asked, what's the prize for winning the ping pong tournament? It's for charity. So we're asking all the participants to put in about $10. We're asking all the participants to put in $10, and everybody that we should have about 30 players. So it'll be about $300, and the winning player gets a trophy. The trophy's all the way in another room. I'm not going to get it. Gets a trophy, and then we give $300 to the charity of that person's choice. For instance, I don't want to go through everybody's charities, but people have let me know what charity they want to play for, and then they're going to see a donation made of however many people we have times 10 towards the charity of their choice. I hope everybody enjoyed the eclipse on Monday. We certainly did. It was one of those things that definitely brought the neighborhood together. And some interesting data that we're seeing about this eclipse is apparently we have now figured out how to cure America of its screen time addiction. It's just have more eclipses, because apparently the screen time and the internet usage for people that were in the path of totality declined significantly. So apparently all we need to get people off their mobile phones and off the internet is have more eclipses. But if you're on the internet now, please share this video, please send likes, please retweet. If you're watching on Facebook, please send stars, and please subscribe. So far, we're trying to get 10,000 subscribers, and so far we have a whopping 4. Big thank you to Brandon in New Jersey to become our last subscriber. So we have 4 down and 9,996 to go. And if you're watching on Facebook, there should also be an opportunity to send stars somehow. It should come up here somehow. Yeah, Dan agrees with where I am on, and Dan Fratellone, I don't know if you play ping pong, but I know you're a pretty good athlete and your shoulder's back in shape now. So if you want to play in the tournament Saturday, be my guest. Dan says Lindor is a gamer. Make no mistake. He is. He is. Francisco Lindor is a great ball player. And I think once he gets over this slump, he's going to be just fine. The cream rises to the top. All right. Tonight, we have a very interesting show. We are going to Brian Kilmeade's coming on tomorrow. We're going to talk about the news of the day with him. Quite a bit of news, especially with President Trump's trial starting next week. And when I say tomorrow, it's tonight from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. And we're also going to talk with Carolyn Gorman from the Manhattan Institute. It's interesting. I'm sure ours might be the only radio show that Jonathan Haidt has not been on yet. Jonathan Haidt has been on every radio and TV show in America, and he's got this new book in which he's basically making the case that smartphones are ruining America's youth. And Carolyn Gorman is so far the only prominent scholar that I've seen who's written anything which calls that into question, which says that the conclusions that he's drawing are a little inconclusive. So I'm going to talk about that with her. And I'm really excited. I have wanted for a long time to have on this terrific reporter and journalist, and I've met her a couple times, but we have not been able to make the timing work. But Batia Ungar Surgan, she's an editor with Newsweek, brilliant woman. You might have heard her on radio shows. She's been on with Sid. She's been on with Brian Kilmeade. She's been on with Bill Maher on TV. She's been everywhere. And now she's got this new book called Second Class. And basically, it explains how political and media elites are deplatforming working class Americans. And I've really been impressed with Batia. I really like her as a journalist, and even when I disagree with her, I find that she is very difficult to argue with. So she's the deputy opinion editor of Newsweek, and she was born actually in Gaza, but she is a very proud Jew and Zionist, rabid supporter of the state of Israel. So we'll get into the Middle East situation as well, in all likelihood. She's born to Israeli parents in Gaza. So she has a very interesting perspective on what's going on in the Middle East. And, I wear a Christ head on my chain. She wears I think like a lot of people, a Jewish star on her chain. But I got to meet her at a book event, and she was always a fan of hers. And I've been trying to get her on for a while, and we're going to have her on tomorrow to talk about her new book. See, it's funny, all these people who are never available when you want them to talk about something, all of a sudden, when they have a book to promote, all of a sudden they become available. Matt Davidson asks, any news with a Ric Flair interview? The answer is no. I mean, I figured it was busy for him with WrestleMania, but I'm going to reach out to him again. So I wrote to him, and I'll spare. And I'd written to him once, and he didn't respond. Okay, and then I wrote to him again, substantially the same message, but then I just added, this text message is powered by Woo Energy. That's the only portion of it that I thought he might respond to, because that's his energy drink. And he responded, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Hey, can you think we can do something?" And then he writes back. He says, "Name of podcast." And then I gave him more details about our show. And so far, he has not written back. So if you wanted, Matt, please tag Ric Flair in this interview, in this video on Twitter and elsewhere, and encourage him to join to join our show, because it would be a real treat to have him. I'm going a little light with the wrestling stuff for the rest of the week, because I know there are a lot of people that think I talk about it too much on radio, and a lot of people have divergent interests. So I'm not going to try and get him on this week, but I'd love to do something with him next week. So I'm going to reach out again, and we will see where it goes. All right. But I appreciate you asking, Matt. Thank you. He is the Nature Boy, my favorite wrestler of all time. So I'll update folks on where things are with the Ric Flair interview in coming days. But in the meantime, if you want to help, the best thing you could do is reach out to him on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and encourage him to do an interview with me. It would be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right. So Brian Kilmeade, Batia, and Carolyn Gorman will all join me tomorrow. I may have a couple of other surprises as well. We'll see where that goes. Please share this video. Please send stars. Please subscribe. And Luigi Lou, Pop, my bartender, my not bartender, so you can see where my head is at. My barber, also Carmine's barber. You know, it's funny, Pop. We walked by your barbershop yesterday, and Carmine said, "Haircut, haircut." He actually wanted to go for a haircut. He's asleep right now, but he was a little under the weather yesterday, so I didn't risk trying to go in without without an appointment. So I'm going to reach out to you maybe later today to see if we can't arrange an appointment for him for tomorrow or Friday. So we'll see if you have any openings for this young man. Um, Gene writes, again, there are all these haters that just love to heckle. Wake me when Bruno Sammartino comes back. Bruno Sammartino, great wrestler and very much an immigrant success story, and really one of the original strong men without steroids in an era that wasn't where that wasn't necessarily prevalent. Right, you didn't see guys of his strength and his physique at that time. But honestly, if you compare, and I'm not taking anything away from Bruno because he's the longest reigning WWE World Champion in history and an incredible performer and an inspiration to a lot of people. But if you compare his ability to draw crowds outside of the Northeast to Ric Flair's ability to draw crowds outside of the Northeast, there's no comparison. No comparison. I mean, I know part of this. I think Rick was a little tough on Bruno in his book. He called him the Northeastern champion. I think that was a little unfair, but look, um, as a technical wrestler and as somebody with a certain level of charisma, in my view, Ric Flair certainly trumps Bruno Sammartino. Not taking anything away from Bruno. I mean, his story about fleeing the Nazis and everything. It's just a wonderful story, and everybody that's ever met him has said that he was an incredibly nice guy. I have some criticisms of some of the things that he said about the wrestling business in general after he made his living in it. It reminds me of talk radio. Almost everyone that's not working in talk radio today, they dump on talk radio and talk about how much it sucks and how much they don't like it and things like that. And all I'm thinking is you made a living in talk radio for however many number of years. How about letting those of us that are working in talk radio now try and make a living rather than, dump on what we're trying to do, right? If you don't like it, don't listen. But to basically have a place at the table and benefit from talk radio fandom for this many number of years, and then say how everything that everybody's doing now sucks. Well, Bruno was like that to some extent. Now he did come back and ultimately embrace the product and go into the Hall of Fame before he passed away. But I always thought that was a little much. Sometimes if you can't get behind, I always gave credit to Joe Piscopo, for instance. Joe Piscopo became a star because of Saturday Night Live. And congratulations to Joe Piscopo as well, making the Talkers Heavy 100 list. If you're just tuning in, we were very, very honored to be named the 44th most important talk show host in America by Talkers Magazine. You can go to talkers.com and see the whole list. Joe made the list as well. But Joe, in the 6 years that I've worked with him, and in the countless interviews that I've done with him over the years, both before I worked with him and after, never once did he criticize Saturday Night Live. Now, I see the product that's on Saturday Night Live, and aside from some certain political editorial decisions, which I know he'd have a problem with, it's really honestly just not that funny, at least what I've seen. It's possible that they're much funnier and much better, but I just haven't seen it. But from what I've seen, it hasn't funny. And I know Joe feels that way, but never once has he publicly criticized Saturday Night Live because his view was, look, without Saturday Night Live, I wouldn't even be here. And who am I to criticize what they're doing now? And I always gave them a lot of credit for that because it's a certain amount of loyalty. And I wish people would do the same thing when it comes to talk radio, or in the case of Bruno Sammartino, when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. Hey, I see we have the first lady of our radio station, Margot Katzimatidis, tuned in as well. Thank you, Margot, as I mentioned earlier, for the opportunity that you've given me, along with John, to even have a radio show. I appreciate that very much. And thank you. And congratulations to John and Rita for making that heavy 100 list as well, finishing with number 42 on the list, a couple of notches above me. So, all right. If you want to tune into the show tonight, we're going to be on from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Please set your smart speaker or your phone. You could listen on the 77 WABC app. All you have to do is just you can hit this. If you have the app, it's free. If you don't have it, just download it at 77 WABC. You hit this little gear in the corner, and then you can hit alarm, and then you can set it for 1 o'clock, and then it'll automatically start playing the stream of our show at 1 a.m. And if you're worried about it waking you up, just keep the volume a little low, and you could set the alarm and have it play the radio station. Yeah, there you go. Boom, all set. And you can do that every day. And even if you're asleep, you'll be helping us out by streaming the radio station. Maybe we will seep into your subconscious. All right. Brian Kilmeade, Bhutia Ungar. I always get her Batra last name. So Bhatia is going to be on as well, talking about her book and the Middle East and a lot more. Carolyn Gorman from the Manhattan Institute and a few other surprises. I see we have Noelle tuning in. She's got a great new YouTube channel for children that I've subscribed to. If you have kids, it's great. It's called let me. I got it here. It pops up. It's called Auntie No, Auntie NOE. So if you have children and you want to, see what she's doing on YouTube, they have fun dance songs for kids and things like that. Check it out, Auntie NOE. All right. Unless anybody else has questions, put them in the comments. And if no one else has questions, then I will move on. We'll do another one of these tomorrow. Please share this video. Please send hearts and likes so that more people find these videos. And until we do this again, I'll see you on the radio.